I'm Michael Franzese, a former maid boss in the Colombo crime family starting in the early 80s. Ask me anything. I'll begin answering questions at 2 p.m. Eastern.
What was it like walking away from the Mafia? Was it accepted or were you threatened or hounded in any way? Also, what were the actual logistics of your gas tax scam? How were neither the ICE or any federal agency not able to successfully audit you?
I struggled mightily for years after walking away. My father disowned me. The family put a hit on me. The feds tried to make me a witness. Lots of pressure. Very tough. And very tough for me personally. Even though I didn't hurt anyone. I felt like I betrayed my oath and it really troubled me. Only God and time were able to fix that. Gas tax scheme was complicated. But we were way ahead of the authorities. They could not figure out what we were doing. If my partner didn't turn snitch, they would never figured out the scam.
Any fears about your safety today?
I can't go back to Brooklyn to live, or in NY in general. Wouldn't last. But I don't live in fear. I am a person of strong faith now. God has had my back. Remember, I am the only made man, a Kaporajime, that I know of who has walked away from the life, publicly, not entered a witness protection program and lived. It's a God thing, my friend, not coincidence.
If you listen closely, you can hear the sound of thousands of redditors' brains imploding. Any stories of interaction with other organized crime families, such as Russian mob, Yakuza, outlaw bike clubs, Mexican prison gangs, etc.?
A million. Spent 20 years in the life. Organized the Russian mob from Brighton Beach in the gas business. Best partners I ever had. I taught them how to defraud the government out of hundreds of millions of dollars of tax money back then. They now are deep into Medicare fraud. Setting up fraudulent medical clinics all over the country. Would take hours to tell you all the stories. Take care.
We have ours. Does the Mafia still have a big presence in the US? Are they just better at hiding it now?
Yes. Not nearly as big as when I was active in the 70s, early 90s. But still exists. Don't count it out. Very resourceful.
What is the process of becoming a made man like?
Very intense. Very solemn. Very serious. I took an oath with a picture of us and burning in my hands. My thumb was cut with a knife and blood dropped on the floor. The oath is never to violate the Brotherhood of La Cosa Nostra.
I see this question asked all the time, but never to a legitimate former Mafia boss. How accurate are most mob movies, television shows? If you could recommend one to watch for authenticity, which would it be?
Most authentic Goodfellas and Donnie Brasco. They mention my name in Goodfellas. The bar scene. I knew those guys very well. My era. Saved Henry Hill's life 2x. I knew Paul Vario and Jimmy Burkwell. Also. And Left Guns Ruggiero was a good friend. Those two are the most accurate depiction of that part of the life.
How can I tell if the steakhouse across the street from me is a mob joint? Are there any telltale signs? It supposedly was a hot spot in the 80s and is still rumored to be.
Easy. Who hangs out there? Mob guys like to eat where they are comfortable with ownership and the clientele. And of course, the food has to be good.
Where Hoffa it?
They will never find Hoffa's body. Trust me on that one.
What was the main appeal of joining the mob for you? Money? Power? Following your dad's footsteps?
I joined to help my dad get out of prison. Plain and simple. The money and power came for me later on. Once I got in, I wanted both.
What is the worst thing you have done seen when in the mob? Thanks for doing this. Awesome.
Unfortunately, violence is a part of the life. If you are a made guy, you're going to see it. No escape. I have seen my share. It's ugly.
How old were you when you first realized something was different about your family, and what made you realize it?
Very young. My dad was super high profile, like the John Gotti of his day. Law enforcement always after him and sitting outside my house. Many incidents with them. Didn't like them very much when I was a kid. Got into fights in school when kids made remarks. But I loved my dad. Made me tougher.
I'm aware that you spent approximately 3.5 years in prison. How were you treated by the other inmates that were aware of your past?
I spent almost 8 years in prison. 5 years. Then 3 on a parole violation. I had a lot of publicity. I had a pedigree going in. I was treated well. With respect because I treated other inmates well. Respect is a big thing in prison. For your information, both John Gotti and Carmine Persico, my former boss, were both smacked around in prison. Guys doing life without parole don't care who you are. If you disrespect them, they have nothing to lose. Didn't hurt that Fortune magazine named me as one of the 50 most powerful mob bosses in the US.
1. Did you or other MAID members get an actual salary, or did you just have access to any money you needed? 2. If you did get salary, was it based on what you brought in, and how much was your salary? 3. Do you have a relationship with your father? 4. How thin can you cut your garlic?
No salary you earn for yourself unless you were the boss. Most Goozy were not good earners. Trust me, yes. He's 96 years old and still in prison, very thin. We mob guys are experts at cutting garlic.
If you had it all to do over again, would you make the same choices? Was the lifestyle worth all the trouble you went through?
Life on the street and in the mob is a dead end. Prison or death is the way it will end today. I would not go into that life. Knowing what I know now, I try my best to drum this into the head of our young people. Gangbangers. Not worth it for me or for anyone in the life. Trust me.
Do you ever see anyone from your old Mafia days?
Every once in a while. I speak all over the country to thousands of people a month. I have had a few encounters.
It seems that a lot of families have been destroyed by all of the bloodshed and corruption that mafia groups like the Colombo family have perpetrated over the years. Yet mobsters are generally romanticized in film and on TV. Do you agree that this is how these groups are generally portrayed? Do you think that this is harmful? What is your take on this with your new outlook on life?
The Godfather did more to raise the profile of the mob than any other movie. Yes, it's harmful. The life should not be glamorized. Why? It's an evil life. Not saying the men are evil. I was one of them that happened to be blessed. The life is evil because people die. Families get destroyed because of a lifestyle. I lived it. I know.
What were the most popular methods of intimidation and or extortion?
Just following through with what you say you are going to do. If you say I'll beat you with a bat if you don't perform, pay, you know they will. It's knowing you back up what you say that scares people.
How full of bodies is the Meadowlands marshes in NJ? I just can't help but think it's loaded.
Not loaded. That's a myth.
How does a mob or other organized crime compare today with your day? Is it worse? Better? More or less brutal?
My day was pretty much towards the end of the golden age of the mob that began in the late 40s. Different today. I wouldn't want to be a part of it. We had some integrity about us. Respect and honor did mean something with the old-timers. Today, the Russians have gotten pretty violent at times. But it's all not what it was.
What is the percentage of Mafia members survive until old age? The percent that survived without any work-related injuries.
If you are a made man, you die of old age and die a free man, you really accomplished something. I have seen many more guys die in jail or from a bullet than I have seen survive. The percent are bad.
Can you describe the most brutal violent thing you ever witnessed while in the mob? The most brutal act you heard committed?
The DeMayo crew chopped up bodies and buried the parts in cement drums. Witnessed death. It's not pretty. Let's leave it at that.
What is the most unrealistic part about the Mafia as portrayed in television and movies?
Really depends on the movie you're talking about. Goodfellas. Donnie Brasco realistic. The Sopranos. If a mob boss was ever visiting a psychiatrist, he would be in the trunk of a car by the end of the week, along with the psychiatrist. But the family interaction was fairly legit.
How do you feel about your past? Does it haunt you? Are you proud? Any regrets?
I'm not proud of my past. My wife will tell you that I do have rough nights sleeping at times. Regrets? I would have preferred not to have gone through it. But I just move on and try to use my experiences to benefit others.
How often have you encountered corrupt cops, government officials? Has any nationally known incident ever been influenced by this?
Quite often. They are people too. Everyone is capable of being corrupted, regardless of your career. But I have met many real good honest ones also.
What timing? I just watched that program about the 10 commandments of the Mafia. And now here you are. 1. Where did you get the idea for the gas station scheme? And since it was getting so big, did you have any sort of an exit strategy in case the authorities got too close? Or would you just keep running the scam until you went down with the ship too? Who was the scariest person you ever encountered and what made them particularly frightening?
Gas tax scheme was 1 in a million. So much money. Better than drugs and a lot less ugly. A guy in the biz came to me when some other mob guys tried to shake him down and move on his business. I chased the guys away and the two of us devised this scheme to defraud the government out of the tax money on every gallon of gas. At its height, we sold 500 million gallons of gas a month and kept 20-30 cents a gallon of the tax money. Do the math. Lots of money. My dad was scary. Saw him go off on people. Scared because he was no BS. He would do exactly what he said. No fear in him.
How often did you partake in the traditional Mafia activities of eating gabagool and talking about gabagool?
I am Italian in every sense. Love the food. All of it.
Hi Michael. What is your relationship with your father like these days? I know inside the American mob you spoke about it, but is there anything else you would like to add? Also, what was your single best day money-wise whilst in the Mafia? And finally, will we ever see the sort of organized crime capabilities that Cosa Nostra had ever again? Thank you.
I still love my dad. He's in prison until 2017 when he will be 100. God willing. I feel a bit guilty I haven't visited him as often as I should. Just so burnt out on prison. All my life, since Mom died last year, things have changed a bit between us. One day, I made over $3 million. It was a rush. No. The mob in my opinion will never see its glory days again. At least not in my lifetime.
Thank you for doing this AMA. As a former member of the Colombo family, I'd like to know what you think is the future of the family as they are the smallest in New York and constantly being hammered by the government. Do you see any family mergers, for example? Also, Did you know Greg the Grim Reaper Scarpa seemed like an interesting character with his civil rights work and sociopathic behavior? The way you structured that question, I thought you were a former member of the Colombo family and was like, oh, this is gonna be good. What do you miss most, if anything at all, about being in that lifestyle? And conversely, what did you hate or you miss least about it? And finally, what do you enjoy most about life now that you are out of all that?
I do miss the camaraderie I had with my guys. It was powerful. I loved the brotherhood among the men. And there were some good times. Yes, I do miss them at times. I hate the treachery, greed and the dishonesty. It destroyed the life. Now, I enjoy freedom, my family, being an encouragement to others and serving God.
Haha. Let's test your pledge to answer all and any. Question 1. How much are you worth and have you really quit the mob, or is this just deep cover? 2. How many lives have you personally ended and how many have you been responsible for ending? 3. Who was the most feared mobster of your era and why? 4. How do you perceive films like The Godfather, Casino, Goodfellas etc. realistic to what percentage? 10%, 90%? 5. Any opinion on the news that Pacino and De Niro are going to film The Irishman about Frank Sheeran and Jimmy Hoffa this year? Any fact that you know that could change the entire story, or anything you think must be included? Event, personality trait etc. Did you know either? Man, thanks for doing this AMA. If you have any of those mobster dollars hidden away, I could do with a 100k loan.
1. I'm out. 15 years straight proves it. At one time, I was bringing $8, $10 million a week into my operation. Had a jet, a helicopter, all the toys. Today, I work for a living. For myself, but I work. Movie on my life out this year. Too tough question. Know this. You are part of the life. You are part of the violence. 3. There was no most feared. You feared your boss if you made a mistake or violated the rules. Tough guys who have no respect for other guys in the life always end up dead. The life is the real tough guy. 4. Answered this above a few times. 5. Haven't heard about the film going forward. Pacino and De Niro are great. But Pesci is the best mobster you would not want alone at my former rates. LOL.
A former mob boss said LOL. I've seen everything on Reddit. I think this is a very interesting and unique topic. So thanks for doing an AMA. What are the biggest fiscal differences between a straight business and an illegal business? Legal costs. Anticipating losses due to law enforcement. Money laundering. etc. What is your relationship like now with other former members? Could you go into detail about how you would find and proposition public officials to cooperate with you? Anything from police and inspectors all the way up to high-ranking decision makers.
Great questions that require lengthy answers. Again, read my business book. You can see it on Amazon. I answer all of that and more. Most everyone I ran with is either dead or in prison for the rest of their lives. I outlasted most all of the guys. Blessed. Guys on the street will not really associate with me now. Would not look good for them. But I really didn't have many enemies in the life. I made people earn money, and that makes lots of friends like everything else. Public officials. Law enforcement. Some of them like money and power. We knew how to use our influence and money to get to those who would play along. At one time, the mob controlled almost every major union in America. We had strength right into the White House back in the Kennedy days. Believe it. It's the truth.
Thank you. Thanks for watching our videos. We work hard to make sure you keep coming back for the content we produce. And if you like this video, please feel free to subscribe our channel. We would love to hear your own stories in the comment section below.